Let me just explain a few things that have happened on the right wing recently. So they had a whole Black White House summit a year ago. I think, Charlie Kirk and Candace. And Candace, I've spoke to her about it. She was a little upset, I think, at the time at some things that I said, and we're cool on it. It's nothing but love for Candace. Charlie, I don't really know. But they disinvited Hotep Jesus from the White House visit. Hotep Jesus, aka Brian Sharp. He's a black, conservative-leaning guy. Very interesting, very intelligent. He got disinvited from the White House event. Why did he get disinvited? He made some tweets about Jewish people, and the Daily Beast, framed him as some anti-Semite, and then, they threw him aside because although a lot of us, we stand up for the conservative movement and Donald Trump when the media lies about them, but they don't always return the favor to us. So, Hotep Jesus couldn't go to the White House event. Excuse me. That's kind of when I realized, I was like, I'm not trying to tick off any of my friends in the Republican movement, but I noticed that they don't really want free thinkers, because Hotep Jesus, aka Brian Sharp, he's a free thinker. I would consider him, out of that black conservative movement, one of my favorite, one of the smartest and one of the most diverse in thought. A lot of people say the same things. He's very different. So then I was like, they claim to be free thinkers, the conservative movement, we're free thinkers, but it's really kind of like, well, if you don't agree with us, you're not invited. And for me, it's like, I'm part Hispanic, so they want me to go to the White House, not because I have 250 million views, you get what I'm saying? Not because I've helped, Candace Owens blow up and Brandon Straka blow up. That's not why they want me at the White House. They only want me for my heritage, so I could go scream, build a wall. It's just true. Identity politics is alive and well in the right wing as well. It's like, let's get a bunch of black conservatives to, scream, build a wall so it looks good at the White House optics. Let's get Hispanics to scream, build a wall, so it looks good for the optics. But if you say something that they don't like, for Hotep Jesus, he had a tweet about Jewish people. For Ben Garrison, he got disinvited because he made a cartoon about George Soros and Rothschilds, who don't represent all Jewish people, but they deem that anti-Semitic. So if you're catching my drift, the right wing is pro-free speech and diversity of thought, unless you critique, Jewish people or Israel, and then they want to distance themselves for you. So let's look at Israel and the United States as an ally. Even if you love Israel, you might live in Israel. I have a lot of Israeli supporters. God bless you guys. I appreciate you. But even if you're pro-Israel, we're such a big ally. We send them more money to Israel than we do any other country. They have one of the biggest lobbies. I mean, Republicans will say it's not that big. It's called AIPAC, American Israeli Political Action Committee. There's no such thing as Saudi Arabia Political Action Committee. I mean, this is the only place that you'll see Nancy Pelosi, Chuck Schumer, Donald Trump. They all go there and say, Israel, we love you. We're connected. We're exactly the same country. I have a video of Nancy Pelosi literally saying, if America's capital crumbled tomorrow, that we would still be giving aid to Israel. She doesn't even call it aid. It's like, it's yours. Even if our capital crumbled, we'll just take our money, take our taxpayer money. And then in the same breath, she says, you could watch her video at AIPAC. Nancy Pelosi says, Israel, we're connected for good. America, Israel, we're exactly the same. And if you disagree with that, like there's videos of this. I'm not making this up. There's nothing anti-Semitic about it. You could watch the video yourself. She's saying that pretty much we're connected, and anybody who doesn't think so, is anti-Semitic. And then in the next breath, Nancy Pelosi says, and, we're going to stop people from saying dual loyalty. It's illegal, and that's a big a talking point on the right wing as well. The PragerUs, the Shapiros, even the Trumps, the Ted Cruzes, they say, you can't suggest that, politicians have dual loyalty, even though they tell you they have dual. Like Nancy Pelosi literally says, I have dual loyalty. If you don't have dual loyalty, you're anti-Semitic. And then if I was to say, hey, Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer have dual loyalty, because it's not even an opinion, it's a fact. It's a provable fact. That's now considered anti-Semitic, and there's actually speech regulations, not just in Florida, like the last video I showed, if you haven't seen it, check it out, but all over the place. So you catch my drift. Even if you're pro-Israel, even if you live in Israel, even if you're a Jewish American who supports Israel, maybe you're not. I don't really care for this video, but what I'm saying is they get the most foreign aid. They're the only foreign country that has speech regulation laws on our foreign soil. You're allowed to criticize Saudi Arabia, America, Iran. You're allowed to say Italy's not a good ally. You're allowed to say Canada's not a good ally. You're allowed to say Mexico's not a good ally. Poland's not a good ally. But if you dare say Israel's not a good ally, or there's dual loyalty, or all of these things that are literally facts, even if you support Israel, you could say, we have loyalty for this reason, that reason, they're a democracy. I'm not arguing that, but the point I'm saying is right-wingers and Republicans now on Twitter, they're pro-fact, pro-reality, pro-free, anti-fact, anti-reality, anti-free speech, anti-everything. It's like, it's a total lie, and I don't even know what you want me to say about it, because the reason I care so much about it is because we have one political party, the left wing, that I'm not even talking about. They obviously don't care about our freedom. They obviously don't care about our, taxpayer dollars. They want to steal our money. I don't think they care about that much at all. No offense if there's people that are left-wing. I've talked to left-wing people. Like, the modern-day left-wing movement is pretty pathetic. I don't know what they're doing anymore. They raise taxes, give health care to illegals, take away your private health care, maybe. It's like there's nothing the left wing, I don't even need to talk about it right now, because I understand people say, well, the right wing's better. I'm not debating it. I've said that multiple times and got a lot of flack. However, if you look at the party that's supposed to be preserving our First and Second Amendment, they're doing none of the sort. All the same Republicans who want to start a war with Iran, all of a sudden they're pro red flag law, like the Dan Crenshaws. Oh, well, red flag law might not be a good idea. Even Donald Trump himself said that he might consider it. But get to the root of, the pharmacy industry, get to the root of mental health. There's one of 50,000 reasons that shootings are happening, and I guarantee you it's not gun ownership. I mean, there's charts and statistics to prove that. So a lot of Republicans are not standing up for the Second Amendment. I don't think the left is, but I'm not talking about them right now. Look at our First Amendment. None of these Republicans that you guys, I'm not trying to hate on anybody. I have a lot of friends in these organizations, but a lot of them know the truth. They'll tell me this stuff, behind closed doors, but they don't want to piss off Charlie Kirk. They don't want to, they don't want to lose their gig of getting booked for Turning Point USA, so they're not going to say anything. It's not because they don't know what I'm saying is true. Of course they know what I'm saying is true. It's not even, it's definitely debatable, everything is, but there's video of Nancy Pelosi saying, I have dual loyalty, and then in the next breath she says, but I'm going to, make sure that no one can say that I have dual loyalty. Charlie Kirk has dual loyalty. Ben Shapiro has dual loyalty. PragerU has dual loyalty. Donald Trump has dual loyalty. Nancy Pelosi has dual loyalty. Chuck Schumer has dual loyalty. And I'm not anti-Semitic for saying it. They themselves say it constantly. Look at Mike Pompeo. Look at all of these people. They actively tell you we're connected. They go to AIPAC rallies where it says connected for good. They don't say you're our ally. They say you're us. We're you. We're the same country. And if you disagree with that, you're terrible. And then I literally just repeat what they said. I'm like, so you have dual loyalty, right? And they're like, oh my goodness, we're going to make sure Anomaly can't come to these events. We're going to make sure Anomaly can't say this stuff. We got to pass a law in Florida. And trust me, I know it's just Florida now and it's the school system, but they're going to do this more and more and more. The Charlie Kirks, the Pragers, even the Trumps and Ted Cruzes, if you don't wake up, because they have dual loyalty. They don't want people to be able to criticize Jewish people or Israel at all, because they have a religious and political agenda when it comes to Israel, which is totally fine. All I'm asking for is the right to say it. You can, I have friends that say, we have a religious reason that we have to be in Israel. They're our best ally. They're the greatest people on the earth. You can have that. I'm not arguing that right now. All I'm saying is, if you're saying that you have loyalty there, don't make it illegal to say that. And also, don't start passing all these anti-free speech regulations. This is America. They're like, if you disagree with us, you're anti-Semitic. I don't care if it's Italy. I don't care if it's Israel. I don't care if it's Mexico. A foreign country, regardless of how close of their allies they are, shouldn't have special speech regulations in our country. They shouldn't have special rules for their people. You can't criticize them. That's conflating these terms. How about you just take accountability for stuff you've done? If you're, if I'm Christian or I'm Catholic or I'm Buddhist and 80% of media companies are run by Buddhists or Christians, I'm not going to lie about it. It's not my fault. It's not all people of certain race or religion's fault, but it's a factor statistic. So now on the right wing, statistics are illegal. If you look at banking or mass media or who our allies are, it's obvious. We could lie about it if, we want, so we could get booked by Charlie Kirk and, go talk in front of a couple hundred college kids, but it's just a stat. If I'm Catholic and most of the media is controlled by Catholics, I'm not going to say, oh, no, don't say that. That's anti-Catholic to suggest that Catholics are control it. It's not all people. It's not the whole religion. It's not the whole race. But there's obviously like statistics and, facts that are undeniable. It's like saying it's illegal to say that there's more African Americans in the NBA. It's not anti-African to say that there's more African Americans in the NBA. It's a literal fact. I mean, all you have to do is open your eyes, look at the television, and you can see that. So do you get what I'm saying? If Republicans want to be pro-Israel first and, put Israel over free speech, over the Second Amendment, over, endless wars, over how they treat themselves, over their own religion, a lot of, Zionists are literally Christian. It's like they're not even Jewish. It's not blaming one group of people. There's probably more Christian Zionists than there are Jewish Zionists. So it's like, if you want to put your relationship with another country and your religion over America and its amendments, I don't even care. I'm not going to tell you what to not do, but just don't say I can't say it. That's the only point I'm trying to get across. They're so desperate. Like, they're allowed to say Saudi Arabia is not a good ally. They're allowed to say that Canada's not a good ally. But they foam at the mouth when Ilhan Omar says that she doesn't think Israel's a good ally. You can disagree with her, but she has the right to say that. I have the right to, say whatever I want for now. But I guarantee you, these same conservatives are the same ones that will further push this and push this and push this. They think the truth is anti-Semitic. They think reality is anti-Semitic. They think questioning their, loyalty to Israel is anti-Semitic. They think pointing out the fact that they themselves have admitted they have dual loyalty is anti-Semitic. So at this point, I wouldn't even care if they said, listen, I love this country. I consider it part of America. I mean, they do say that. You could look up videos. They say that stuff. And then I'm like, hey, did you say that? They're like, how dare you say what I just said? We're going to make sure it's illegal, that you can never point that out. It's in no way, shape, or form helping the country, in my perspective. It's in no way, shape, or form helping. I'm here. All right. So that's my thoughts on it. I kind of want to go back and forth because I want to be challenged today, because I don't want to just talk to myself. So I'm going to read some of the comments. Someone says, Muslims don't even have dual loyalty with each other. Muslims are always at war with each other. You're allowed, absolutely. There's absolutely Muslim wars where they're fighting each other, and you, in America, you have the right to say that. There's nothing anti-Islamophobic about saying that. Doug King said, no, it's just that Jews have been discriminated against in the long world of history. They've absolutely been persecuted, but also I think every race, religion, and gender should take self-accountability. And in my personal perspective, a lot of Jewish people want to take zero self-accountability and play 100% the victim card. And if you look at society right now, I wouldn't say that they're a persecuted group. I would say that they're, statistically ahead of pretty much every industry. I mean, banking, media, and they'll say that it's anti-Semitic to say. It's more of a compliment. It's like, congratulations, you're doing excellently on a world scale. So, there's certain things that, yes, they've been persecuted, but at the same time, you have to look at the whole scope of history from the last 2,000 years and say, who else has been persecuted? Well, 1 million Christians were slaughtered. People were slaughtered in Russia, via communism. Are there anti-communism laws? Are there anti-Christian? Why would they pass a religious bill that only favors Jews? It doesn't make sense to me. They're not the only persecuted group. But in my perspective, they're one of, even like a Ben Shapiro or PragerU, as much as I respect what they do, they don't like taking any accountability. They'll call out white supremacy and say, white supremacy is bad. If you look up the shooter of El Paso, no one even confirmed that he was white. His dad was standing next to a Star of David. The kid might have been Jewish. I don't know for sure. Maybe he was white, maybe he was Jewish. But no one checked. But Ben Shapiro condemned white supremacy, which is fine. Condemn it all you want. But will Ben Shapiro condemn Jewish supremacy? I said that on Twitter one time, and people were like, I don't even know what Jewish supremacy is. Well, that just shows you that who's controlling the narrative and who, is dual standard, where it's like, Jewish supremacy is when an Israeli lawmaker says that his DNA is better and that, he's a superior race of, the rest of the world. That's in Newsweek. That's like mainstream news. So it's like, if you're going to condemn one race for being, or we could do what I want to do is just let people be themselves. I don't care if you think you're better or worse. That's my perspective. Just don't lie about it. Don't say your race can't feel better, but my race can feel better, but we're going to condemn you, but we're going to do exactly what you're doing times 50. Either everyone can do it or no one can do it. And me personally, I don't get offended by people's perspective. I think everyone has the right to feel better or worse or the same and speak freely and say, it's like the excuse that it's like, we've been persecuted throughout history, so no cartoons, we're going to take your free speech, we're going to take the most aid from your country as possible, we're going to start wars on your behalf. It's like, that's only going to make people hate you more, and then if something bad happens again, then it's like, oh, we got persecuted. Obviously it's not great. I don't want that to happen, but you have to take accountability. You're making people not like you if you think you have a different standard of rules. No race should have a different set of standards, and it's not just that. In America, there's a lot of discrimination in America in other ways. It's like that's in no way, shape, or form making your case better. It's like, well, bad things have happened to us, so no cartoons. We're going to be anti-cartoon. We're going to be anti-free speech. We're going to let a foreign country, basically dictate our First Amendment and lower that. We're going to have, a lot of representation in media, but you're not allowed to point it out in a country that's supposed to have free speech, or else we're going to call you names. Where like it's not even a diss. I'm not saying it is a bad thing. I'm not trying to change like who has what power, but it's like when you hold most power positions, yet the people who hold most of those power positions are constantly blaming another race and then playing the victim and having separate set of rules. I don't think that's the way to minimize hate for, a group of people. I think that's the way to increase hate. And then, once again, be like, oh, I don't know what happened. It's like, well, it's because a lot of even right-wingers are lying. I don't really know what to say. Someone said, do you want a repeat of World War II? Absolutely not. Of course not. I want no war, but unfortunately, we've been starting wars for the last 20 years in the Middle East, and no one knows why we're there, and we constantly get lied to by our media, and then we're in 4 different countries, and then the biggest point I'm trying to make too is the same Republicans that say they're against radical Islamic terrorism are the same ones screwing up these regions and then mass importing them to Western countries and then doing the same thing on repeat. It's like, if you hate radical Islamic terror so much, why are you funding it? Why are you supporting it? Why are you dispersing it across, the Western world if you hate it so much? Someone said people should be colorblind. I mean, people should treat each other like individuals, but that's never gonna happen, especially in America. I agree that this is a beautiful place where you could be any race, religion, and gender, but you have to follow a certain standard of freedom. And if you don't follow that standard of freedom, then the whole system's not going to work. So that's kind of the point I'm trying to make. It doesn't matter if you're Jewish, black, white, Hispanic, Asian, but if you want special laws for yourself and you want special treatment and you want to use historical context to justify, the mistreatment of others and hypocrisy, America doesn't exist anymore. You get what I'm saying? That is what makes our country great. It's the best place to be for a lot of races, religions, and genders, but if there's no free speech and there's no equal treatment, it's like everyone wants equal treatment, but nobody wants equal treatment. I want equal treatment. I say to the right wing, what if we treated Christian the same way that we treated Judaism? What if we treated, Israel the same way that we treated Canada and Mexico? And then I get called names. I'm like, I'm a bad person because I want literal equality and, I want a real discussion, and it's not helping. I don't know any other way to put it. Like, I'm seeing, I follow a lot of people. I've seen a lot of influencers. They want to have a conversation and they get shut down and shut out, and then they freak out, and then they get all extra mad. It's like when the left wing shuts down Trump supporters, does that make you does that make you not like Trump? When the left wing calls you racist, sexist, xenophobic, Nazi for supporting the president and low taxes? No, that builds Trump's support. He's probably going to win by a landslide because they've thrown people in a corner. It's the same thing with the right wing. If they don't want to if they want Israel and Jewish people in America to have a protected, different status than everybody else, at least you have to allow people to say that You get what I'm saying? If you want to do that, a lot of people are saying they need it. If you want to do that, at bare minimum, you have to let people say that. But they do that, and then they say if you say what they do, that's now a speech violation. And, all of these big league conservatives are now the speech police all over Twitter saying, you can't say that, you can't say that. So if you're going to do it, you can't stop me from saying it. I don't care what you do. I have a lot of supporters in Israel. It's been nothing but love. Like, I have a disproportionate amount of Jewish friends myself. I'm not blaming any media organization or banking or I'm not blaming them for doing very well. I'm just saying I should be allowed to point it out. If I'm in a room with 100 European people, I should be allowed to say, hey, this room's mostly filled with European people. I'm not making excuses for why it's going what way, but I should be allowed as an American citizen to speculate what I think, whether it's true or not, or unpopular or not. I should be allowed to say, I think that this is happening because of this, and then you have the right to say, you're wrong, here's why it's right. But if you say, you're wrong because I don't even want to consider that, and even though it might be true, I'm going to call you a bad person for saying it, it doesn't actually solve the problem. It doesn't actually help anybody. Like, literally, the funniest thing to me, and I feel like I'm the only one saying it, and I don't mind saying it because it's not coming from a hateful place. It doesn't bother me. They're trying to say you can't say dual loyalty when they themselves admit that they have dual loyalty. You can have dual loyalty, but you can't stop me from saying it. And if you do, then I'm going to call you not a conservative. There's nothing conservative about not allowing me to say what you yourself just said 2 minutes ago. It's actually pretty funny. And I'll tell you what too, another thing, without being hateful, this is the game that Donald Trump is playing. Like, if you want to talk about four-dimensional chess, I'll just say it because no one else is saying it, and it's not even a mean thing. I think it's pretty funny. Donald Trump knows how much power that a lot of Jewish Americans have. He's lived in New York for 80 years. You think he doesn't know how much power and money certain Jewish people have? Come on. It's like we could pretend like he doesn't know, but Donald Trump absolutely knows. He knows how much power and influence Israel has. So the game that Donald Trump is playing is he's trying to make Ilhan Omar, Rashida Tlaib, the face of the Democratic Party, because if he makes them the face of the Democratic Party, then Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer aren't the face of the Democratic Party. And whether you want to say it or not, Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer have dual loyalty to Israel, and they get a lot of money and support via media, via other places because of their allegiance to Israel. So if Trump can swap them out and say, look, your party doesn't like Israel, then they're going to lose a lot of backing from a lot of powerful people. So that's the game Trump's really playing when he says you're Israel haters, you're Israel haters. He's trying to get a lot of powerful Jewish and Israel first people to see that and say, how could you be pro-Israel and, pro-Jewish and support the Democratic Party right now? That's kind of the point that Trump is making. And it's actually a very smart business move if you want to talk about, he really can, the Democratic Party without the backing, people, Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer, trust me, listen to them speak at AIPAC. There's nothing wrong about saying that. Listen to how they speak, and you could figure out who their allies are and who they're very, 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 very closely aligned with. So that's the game Trump's playing. He's like, hey, you're going to back them? No, they're not the face of it. I'm making them the face. So he's trying to make, Democratic Party the face of, the Israel haters. I get his bit. I'm not even mad at his strategy. I think Trump is hilarious, and people get mad at me. Anomaly, how dare you shill for Trump? I'm not shilling for Trump. I like him. I made a song about it. I disagree with him on certain angles, and he's the best thing I've seen in my lifetime as far as getting the conversation started and actually doing stuff. So, buzz off. I could like Trump if I want. I don't have to agree with everything. Someone said not 100% true of the Jewish power theory. Some of it though. Here's the thing. It's in my opinion. If I say what I just said, I'm not saying you, but then people say, "Oh, you're saying that all Jews are in on it." No, I never. It's like that to me. That if you want to play the anti-Semitic game, that's anti-Semitic to assume that I said that. That's why I use the group of Jewish Floridians who oppose the anti-Semitism bill. It's like, just because there are a maybe, large amount of Jewish people in certain industries and Israel has power over politics, of course that doesn't mean that every Jewish person's in on it. There's a lot of Jewish people who don't care about Israel. There's a lot of Jews who hate Israel. There's a lot of, I have so many Jewish friends that I get yelled at by anti-Zionists all the time, but it just happened that way. I have a disproportionate amount of Jewish friends, and that's awesome. It's like, they're like, why do you have, I'm like, but the great thing about it is I understand there is diversity of thought within the Jewish community. There's atheist Jews, there's liberal Jews, there's conservative Jews, there's Orthodox Jews. I have Jewish friends who don't even think that Israel should move somewhere else. I have Jewish supporters who live in Israel. It's like, there's nothing, it's anti-Semitic. I say these things to say, oh, you're saying 100% of Jews are on every... No, I didn't say that, but there are very powerful Jewish people who have huge influence over America, perhaps more than anyone else. And trust me, Nancy Pelosi knows it, Chuck Schumer knows it, Donald Trump knows it, AIPAC knows it, Israel knows it, everyone knows it. There's nothing wrong with saying it, but I want to be allowed to say that, just like I want to be allowed to say, I don't like the Pope. The Pope has a large influence, and I think he's a weirdo and a false Pope. I'm not anti-Catholic for saying that. I'm not anti-Christian. I'm not forced to like the Pope. I don't have to like the Vatican. I don't even have to like America. I mean, and then you could say to me, if you don't like America, then leave. But, I feel you, but it's like, I don't have to, no one has to like a foreign country. I have friends in Canada, but as an American citizen, I could not like Canada. And if you are hypocritical about that, Trump bashes a lot of countries, but it's clear that we have certain allies, which is fine, but don't sell out our free speech. That's all I'm asking. Don't give up the first 2 amendments and start more wars just because, Someone said disrespectful. Who, me? All right, I'll answer a few more questions, but this is kind of the convo I'm trying to have. I don't want to have it every single day. It's already kind of annoying me, but I want to interact because I feel like I'm one of the only people who supports the president who says this stuff, and it's interesting to me. I like to be on the other side of it, but also, I want to hear what you guys have to say because I don't want to just talk to myself. So please give me. Someone said. I read that comment. I was like, what? You said, just kidding. That was pretty funny. Someone said the Pope is a demon. See, imagine if you said that and they called you anti-Catholic. It's like, you don't hate Catholics. Maybe you do. Even if you did, I mean, you kind of have the right to hate Catholics if you want. I'm not saying you should. I don't. But you get what it's like. Are we really free? If they tell us who we can and can't like and who... I don't hate anyone. But that's my personal mentality and philosophy of like, how I think the world works, and I don't think there's intrinsic value in hating and spending energy on other people or playing the victim. But as an American citizen, I don't know. I think people should be allowed to like and dislike who they want. It's on you, the karma that brings with that. But it's like either we're free or we're not. It's like the left wing is like so PC. There's no value there for me at all. But the right wing, it's like they kind of play that game a little too. Obviously, they're better with it. But if you give up a little bit, you give up an inch, they take a mile. We learned that with, Second Amendment. We learned that with the LGBT community. Oh, we just want to get married. 8 years later, they're like, what? You don't think 8-year-old drag queens are good? And you're like, I said you could get married. I didn't say you could dress kids up in a sexual manner. You give an inch, they take a mile. That's politics, guys. So it's not every gay person's fault that the mainstream gay agenda is becoming pedophilic, but just like it's not every Jewish person's fault or every Republican's fault that they're lying, in the mainstream Republican movement. And, I think it's a helpful convo. Someone said Omar banned the Pledge of Allegiance in her district. What kind of American politician does that? I'm not a fan of Ilhan Omar. Honestly, if you listen to her talk, she's pretty dumb. She doesn't even get her statistics right ever. Like literally she had her speech on Israel and she said that we give $3 million a year to them. I believe we give $3 billion a year. I'm not quite sure, but I think it's $3 billion. So she undercut herself. She's not very bright, guys. That's why I'm saying it's like, don't spend your time on her. Trust me, Ilhan Omar is not behind the New World Order. Ilhan Omar probably can't even tie her shoes. She's not behind the whole world conspiracy. I promise you, she's just a thing for now, guys. I'm not here defending her. I'm just saying, be careful how you feel, because how does the left wing get people to do all this stuff now? They've made a monster out of Donald Trump. So they say, you don't like monster Donald Trump, right? And everyone, Trump derangement syndrome, yeah, I don't like Trump. So they're like, so you don't like Trump, so now you like war. And they're like, yeah. They're like, you don't like Trump, so now you want to do this. Yeah. It's called Trump derangement syndrome. I've dubbed today Ilhan Omar derangement syndrome. You don't have to like Ilhan Omar, but they've made a monster. Ilhan Omar, yeah. You don't like Ilhan Omar? No. So do you want to sell out the First Amendment? Yeah. Do you want to create a religious school law that only deals with one religion and isn't even honest? Yeah, let's do it. Do you want to lie every single day on Twitter and follow a bunch of liars who, can't pinpoint what they're even talking about? Yeah. You don't have to like Ilhan Omar, but people are getting Ilhan Omar derangement syndrome, and they're using that to strip your... You don't have to like her. I would recommend... I mean, she's actually pretty funny if you calm down and just watch her talk. Like, she constantly messes up. She's very, very dumb. But, you get what you get. Someone said, what about Israel fixing Flint's water? Did Israel fix Flint's water? I did not hear that story, but if that's true, much love. Someone said, I heard Palestine was against LGBTQ rights. Probably, but here's I'm going to drop another unpopular opinion on you guys. I actually have a blast when I do this stuff. People are like, Nama, you're mad. I actually have a lot of fun doing this. I'm not even talking about Palestine, but we'll say Palestine, Saudi Arabia, Iran, like Pakistan, Dubai. It's not our job to go around the world and tell them how to treat people. I just don't like... You get what I'm saying? Our LGBT community in our country is promoting pedophilia. If you go to a lot of these countries, they're not promoting pedophilia because they have a no tolerance policy. You could say it's mean, you could say it's disagree, but nobody likes the guy who tries to go make over your house when they live in they live on the side of the road. So it's like, our number one priority in America should be realizing that our LGBTQ communities promoting pedophilia and getting out of control, rather than go to other countries and be like, don't you want to be LGBTQ like us? I don't blame Palestine, Saudi Arabia, or Iran. I would look at the LGBT community here and be like, no, I don't want that. And even Trump and all these people are like, but how do they treat gay people? It's not our business. They use that stuff as an excuse. They start a war, create a refugee crisis with 3 million people, and then they're like, oh, but we made them gay now, so we really did a good job. It's like, just mind your own business. I'm not saying I don't think they should be persecuting gay people, but at the same time, I don't think America should be persecuting its own people via the food and medicine industry, and a lot of cooking products you buy in the United States that they sold to you contain chemicals and sort of things that cause a lot of diseases. So this is why we don't have anything get done in America, because we're like, Ilhan Omar, Palestine. Who cares about Palestine? I'm sorry if you live there, or you're Israeli and you're like, but I'm not knocking it. It's not even my conflict. I don't know. I have no idea what's going on the whole. All I know is my country, America, has its own issues. So I'm not. My number one priority is not making Palestine gay. I mean, that's very low on my priority list. Unpopular opinion day. If the United States does not dominate the world, who will? Russia or China? I mean, there's a lot of games being played right now, but most of the games being played are not the games you guys think they're being played. I'm not saying you particularly, but I did a Twitter poll. It was pretty funny. I said, which proxy war is your least favorite? Black versus white, Christian versus Muslim. What was the other one? U.S. versus Russia in Syria, and then the other one was like Democrat versus Republican. It's like they're all just really proxy wars. It's like, yes, it's a battle, but it's like if you win, you still lose. Like, you beat the left, you beat the Democratic Party, and the Republicans still slowly sell out your rights. Unless people wake up to this reality. That, you get what I'm saying? This is why it's so important not to care that much about Ilhan Omar. Because you could spend 5 years fighting Ilhan Omar, but your cooking utensils are still poisoned, your plastic is still poisoned, your food is still poisoned, your medicine, they're lying about it. There's so much other stuff where spending 5 years hating Ilhan Omar is almost as foolish as spending 5 years hating Donald Trump. Slightly less foolish in my opinion, but it's just a proxy war within a proxy war within a proxy war. Same with black versus white. It's the biggest proxy war ever. I mean, it's a media creation to make two races fight with each other, so you never actually, get further. So it's like they're all just proxy wars. And that's why this is even more important, and it's crazy. It gets the least amount of views, but we need, like, if the Republican or the conservative movement with Trump is going to dominate, we need to make sure it dominates properly. We need to make sure that it becomes good and hold it accountable. And the reason I actually like Trump, unlike a lot of other people who know what I'm saying right now, is because I think Trump is actually very malleable. In the sense of, like, if he learns and listens. Like, I think so, at least. Obviously, he has some allegiance and, connections. I'm not doubting that. But he, more than any other president ever, actually will shift with the people if he gets the information. And also, if you get behind him, like, here's the amazing thing about people. If enough people are onto it, you are powerful. Like, a politician only has power until 95% of the populace turns against them, and then all their money and connections and powers don't matter. Look at Hillary Clinton. She had all the money in the world. She had all the connections in the world. You name it, She was in with all the top wigs, the big wigs, and she lost because she lost the people. So even with Donald Trump, he has a lot of power, and even I know a lot of people who watch my channel, not a lot, but because I say certain things, people say, "Namli, I like you, but you shill for Trump." He only has as much power as his people give him. So it's like, instead of hating him, why don't you lead him to the light, and then he'll make right decisions as well. And he's doing a lot. So it's like, Trump has a lot of power now. Yeah, he has donors. Yeah, he has friends. Yeah, he has allies. But if the people stand up and say, "I love you, but, like, what do you think about this?" He'll have to act eventually. What Florida law are you talking about, Eric? I have a whole video. I would say watch my last video on here, because I could explain it right now, but I have a whole video where I like have screenshots and I explain exactly what it is and how it's doing. And I know a lot of people are saying, it might get shut down by the courts, but think about anything that the government's ever taken. Privacy, Second Amendment, LGBTQ movement. You give an inch and they take 10,000 million miles. That's why I'm not concerned with, like, the Muslim world being gay. It's like, I just think that's funny. Like, conservatives are like, "Yeah, but Anomaly, don't you want Saudi Arabia to be gayer?" I'm like, no, I don't really care. Like, obviously I don't advocate violence that they're doing or anything, but it's not my priority. Like, they say that. They're like, "Look, they chemically attack their own people. Let's start a regime change war there." It's like, let's not say we did.